America's malls in crisis. What's next for shopping centers? It was during a recent study trip to China that I went to the Oasis Mall, which is located in the suburbs of Shanghai. This retail center, like many others in China, was populated with empty stores, which was a reflection of the fact that China's economic boom, which had lasted for 30 years, had come to an end. However, there were also surprising elements. There was a group of parents and grandparents sitting on chairs located along a section of the internal walkway of the shopping center. While they were staring through a plate glass window, they were seeing a dozen little girls between the ages of 5 and 7 as they practiced ballet routines, paying close attention to their instructor's choreography. A dancing studio had been converted from a facility that had been planned for retail purposes initially. The New York Times cites Green Street Advisors, a real estate and real estate investments trust analytics organization, as the source for the information that more than 24 shopping malls have closed their doors in the past 4 years and another 60 shopping malls are on the verge of closing their doors. In the previous year, the company predicted that approximately 15% of shopping malls in the United States would either fail or be transformed into non-retail space during the next 10 years. This represented an increase from the previous year when the company predicted that 10% of shopping malls would either fail or be renovated. The phenomenal economic expansion that China saw from 1990 to 2020 was exemplified by the country's huge and gleaming shopping malls. A growing middle class that was eager to flaunt its newly acquired wealth prompted the proliferation of these establishments in cities of all sizes to satisfy the demand of consumers. According to the views of Americans, these centers appear to be familiar, which is not surprising. Around this period, American architecture firms constructed 170 shopping complexes in China. As is the case with their equivalents in the United States, numerous shopping malls in China have collapsed. Foot traffic has been severely destroyed as a result of the COVID-19 epidemic and the rise of internet purchasing, which has resulted in a significant surplus of retail space across the country. On the other hand, many shopping malls in China are being reimagined by their owners and customers as palaces of experience. These malls are becoming civic locations where communities may congregate and interact, and they are being designed with novel arrangements of public and private space. When I was a scholar of urban policy for a long time, I was captivated by the novel applications that I saw for shopping malls in China. In my perspective, these efforts could become templates for new, innovative uses of retail space in the U.S., where the mall was invented. With the opening of China to international trade and investment less than half a century ago, China is already catering to a new consumer class. Since then, it has grown to become the second largest economy in the world, with the United States being the third largest. Increasing earnings and a large population movement from rural areas to urban areas have resulted in the formation of a growing middle class that possesses significant purchasing power. Beginning in 1985, the GDP per capita was $293, but by 2021, it had climbed to $12,500. The term middle class can be applied to around 350 million Chinese people, which accounts for 25% of the entire population. The more recent economic expansion has resulted in a growing income inequality that is now comparable to the levels that exist in the United States. The expansion of the country's economy led to the emergence of shopping malls as a symbol of modernity. Throughout the entire year, they provided users with protection from the elements, including heat, humidity, cold, and frost, as well as from crowded streets and polluted traffic. Shopping malls provided a secure setting in which the continuously growing number of more prosperous Chinese families could go shopping and eat, promenade, and meet with one another. Malls in China have experienced both economic booms and slumps over the past 3 decades. For instance, the new South China Mall in Dongguan opened in 2005. It is twice as huge as the Mall of America in Minnesota, which is the largest mall in the United States. The majority of China's 2,300 stores, however, stayed closed for more than a decade as the country struggled to recover from the recession that followed the global financial crisis of 2008. Through the implementation of vigorous economic stimulus programs, China was able to weather that downturn, and within a decade, it surpassed the United States as the leading generator of economic growth at the global level. Because of this expansion, the retail sector, which includes shopping centers, was given a boost. By 2018, the new South China Mall, which had been restored and updated, was almost filled with customers. Then, in the year 2020, COVID-19 hit. Under the strict zero-COVID policy that was implemented by the Chinese government, local governments were given the authority to implement lockdowns following the discovery of only a few cases. For extended periods, hundreds of millions of people were mandated to remain inside their houses for weeks or months at a time. In the latter half of 2022, this policy was finally lifted. Even though China's economy has not yet fully recovered, many experts believe that it will never again achieve the same levels of growth that it did in the past. The economy is being hampered by several factors, including an aging population, trade battles with the United States, and a government that is focused on consolidating control under the Communist Party. Additionally, customers are turning to internet purchasing as a means of avoiding going to physical businesses. As a consequence of this, the Chinese media is replete with headlines of well-known stores and historic shopping complexes that have closed their doors. Similar to the situation in the United States, what academics previously referred to as the magic of the mall has evolved into the allure of ruins in China. Shopping centers that include Chinese elements. The Chinese, on the other hand, are finding inventive ways to utilize their mall space. Non-retail areas, such as interior walkways and atriums, are being occupied by new customers, and cafe tables are being placed in these locations. Some of them have been transformed into play areas for youngsters, complete with enormous inflatable figurines. There is a pet playground on the rooftop of the Raffles City Mall in Shenzhen, as well as a stage, an art display space, and a lawn that is shaded from the sun. The informal economy of China, which consists of food booths and merchants selling their wares on the sidewalk, is also helping to fill the hole. Even though street vending has been there for a very long time in China, government authorities have been working to put an end to it in recent years, claiming that it is unhygienic and a relic of times before modernization. For the time being, however, they are advocating for it as a means of lowering the rising rate of unemployment, particularly among young people, which is currently higher than 20%. During my journey, I observed small-scale entrepreneurs selling fruit, street food, and crafts in the parking lots of shopping malls and at the entrances of public attractions. As a result of vendors setting up stalls in locations that were formerly open spaces, the distinction between public and private spaces is being rearranged. Vacant retail locations are also being transformed for new uses. Some of them have been transformed into showrooms for electric vehicles, art museums, and children's play centers that include dancing studios, paddling pools, tiny skating rinks, gyms, and yoga centers. Some of them have been redesigned to serve as locations for art or cookery workshops, as well as for multiplayer electronic gaming and virtual reality activities. The Dreamtime Mall in Wuhan features an indoor snow center that provides a variety of activities, including tubing, ice mazes, and ski training. These trials, in my opinion, represent a change in the meaning of the shopping mall. What was once a cathedral of retail consumerism is progressing into a location where people can engage with one another and enjoy experiences that are not available online. These experiences can be both individual and collective. This trend is being adopted by a few shopping malls in the United States, but China is implementing it on a much wider scale. In the same way that former Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping previously stated that his government was pursuing its version of socialism with Chinese characteristics, the mall that was designed by the United States is currently being rewritten with Chinese characters. So this is the end of our today's video. Do you like it? Kindly give your valuable response in our comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting and informative videos.